All right. I hope everybody appreciates that my new little intro. Thank you for coming. Cypher, you're the first one in. Good to see you. Welcome to the twice weekly now Why Ukraine live stream. I'd like to thank everybody who is watching live and everybody who's not. It's great to talk to some of you. I had to... Hey, Max. What's going on, my man? Just pouring my tea here. We're going to get into it, guys. I want to let you know about this week. I know I talked about it last live stream, but I successfully ordered a set of mags. Somebody bought them already. One of my guys in the Legion Alpha Company 1st Battalion said he needed 8 mags. And God damn it if some guy didn't. And I believe, I can't remember his name right now, but it'll come to me. Anyway, so those mags are sitting, waiting for my friend in the 1st Battalion in the Chasiv Yar area. So, which, as you should know, is a very hot spot right now. I mean, all along the line is hot, to be honest, right now. But, you know, the reason he said he needs mags is because he keeps dropping them, right? Because, you know, when you go to change, you know, to reload your gun, you know, you're in a hurry. And it's a few extra milliseconds that it takes to stuff your old magazine into a dump pouch or something like that, you know, could mean your life. And so a lot of guys, what they have to do. Hey, Mitch, good to see you, man. Everybody's coming in. Anyway, a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll just drop the mags as they're going along, and then pick them up as they go back, or take mags off the enemy. You know, but in order to do that, you need to have mags coming in. You know, you need to have some extra mags, basically. And we're gonna get into that a little bit, because I can tell you right now what I am hearing from my contacts and also from people who know people who are in the Legion. It's not that they're not even getting enough mags or even mag pouches when they're leaving their recruitment center, you know. And that is a huge problem. So I want to just see here if I can find the post from one of the oh yeah, is what I'm looking for. Find the post from one of the groups here. And what I'm hearing, this is one of the groups that I'm in on Facebook. Okay, and I'll just show you. It's not secret. It's a, you know, It's a group. You can join it. So, this guy's looking to come over here, and he wants to know who's going to give him what. And so, somebody posted, "You don't get anything. It's all crap." And I went on the group and I said, that's a lie. They get everything they need. What are you talking about? And then some more recent people said, yeah, no, actually, they're not getting enough of anything, and they have to send home for enough money to, because a lot of guys, I mean, they don't come over there. They spend their last dime on a plane ticket, and the train from Poland to Ukraine. Some guys even walk across the border. I know one guy, in fact, the guy who we just sent these mags to, he, I think he said he spent like 5 days walking across the border from whatever town, whatever was the last train stop in Poland, to the Ukrainian border, because he didn't know how. I mean, we Americans, we don't understand public transportation, right? So anyway, so I was asked last night by someone in Secular Sakai's Tridents Against Tyrants Discord to bring back my this item here, just a full kit for soldiers. Okay, we're talking helmet, plate carrier, boots, some like 4 tourniquets. It's a whole list. Every all the basic stuff, plates. I think I want to change out these knee pads because a lot of soldiers don't like them. I've been talking about that for a while and I haven't done it. But anyway, everything that you see here in the kit, and a couple of people said, yeah, if you do that, we'll gather some people to pledge for this. Now, this only one. The reason I took it down is just because only one person. By the way, hello Cheryl, thanks for coming in. Sorry I didn't see you before. Only one person donated to this, and so I put this amount. I just ordered 2 plate carriers, and they're supposed to be here on Wednesday. This coming Wednesday. Finally, and plates. I got enough for 2 plates. So I mean, it's not everything that a soldier needs, but it's some basic stuff. So that should all be here within the next week. I've been talking about it forever. And to be honest with you, one guy, a German dude, donated most of the money for plates, like more than $200. So, but this is like a full package. So, I mean, I just added up. I did all the math for everything, boots, and I did the math myself on this. I have one Ukrainian producer who makes these things. I mean, I'm not stuck on that one producer, but it's good to have somebody that who makes the plate carriers, makes the bags. Obviously not the boots, but has a supplier for helmets and shirts and that whole deal, pants. All that stuff is really important. So anyway, so I know I'm getting a good price for this. And as always, just like with the plates and the plate carrier, we've accumulated enough to buy 1 plate carrier and 1 set of plates. Okay, but I was able to kind of make a deal and look for stuff that's half price but still high quality, and so I'm actually doubling that amount. So however much people donated, it's double. Anyway, so let's get on with talking about the news and stuff. I want to thank everybody for coming. Let's find out what the heck is going on in Ukraine. Yeah. First of all, some things that I want to cover, and I'll just go through my everything that I've just saved. I don't need to go through all the articles, just go through my Telegram. This is my own personal Telegram. I don't have a Telegram set up. I'm working on the Discord, getting it set up. Some of you are in there already, but I've got Secular Sakai from Tridents Against Tyrants, and then another friend of mine and my son, all together working on getting the Discord set up properly, which I really appreciate that, because good God, there's so much to do. So let's talk about this, right? The leader of the far-right Slovak People's Party. So we're talking about Slovakia. Slovakia is one of the neighboring states to Ukraine. They were pro-Ukraine until their last election last year. And there was a lot of Russian interference and a lot of accusations of propaganda. And, they are EU and I believe NATO members. But anyway, so this the leader of one part of the coalition that runs the government has said that Russia is not the aggressor in Ukraine and is only just protecting its interests. Makes me wonder how they would feel if Russia came up on their borders, really. I mean, Orban or the Orban government has already said, they want Russia to take Ukraine, but they don't want to have Russia on their own borders. Like, you can't have it both ways, buckaroo. So but these guys, they're all corrupted by the Russian system. You have to think of the Russian system like a cancer. They think of our system of trying to promote democracy and freedom. They think of that as a cancer. Okay, so their system of oligarchy, of kleptocracy, that Trump, for example, absolutely represents. Their system is a cancer that is spreading through our society, and it's one cancer fighting the other, and we have to decide which one we prefer. Big huge step here. I saw Arthur Rehi reported on this, and others, I'm sure. Switzerland is taking sides, man. Switzerland is taking sides, and that is huge. Okay. They are basically supporting. So everybody knows that if you want to hide money, you do it in Switzerland. Of course, there's lots of other places, but they're supporting the transfer of Russian funds held in Swiss banks to Ukraine. That's a BFD, man. That's a BFD. It says 8 billion. I'm sure it's much more than that. So they're talking about creating a legal mechanism for transfer of frozen funds. Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, so Cheryl, Cheryl just mentioned talking about the Slovakian, like Fico. So he said he's of the alt-left variety. So in America, we have this very black and white, left and right. Left is communist, right is, I guess, extreme left is communist, extreme right is like libertarian, and the rest of the world doesn't see it that way. When you go from, and this is a hard thing for me to realize living here in Europe now, when you go outside of America, it's like trading in your black and white television for a color television. Okay. Politics is much more complex. So right-wing conservative means, what that really means is you want things to stay the way they are, or at least the way you remember them being from your childhood. That's what right-wing conservatism is, you know. It's kind of a knee-jerk instinctual reaction. If you grew up in a normal family with an unbroken home, you're more likely. I'm not going to bring up the study right now, but if your parents loved you and all that stuff, you're actually more likely to be a conservative because you have good memories of your childhood, and you think that the way things are. We live such short lifespans in comparison to the big picture. So yeah, unfortunately, the MAGA are orc lovers, and a lot of the communists in Europe and Eastern Europe, they're not really, especially in Eastern Europe and the former Soviet occupied or Soviet aligned states, they are not leftist at all. Leftist means you want things to change. Leftist means progressive. The communists they want things to go back the way they were. They are, in fact, right-wing conservatives. That's true in Ukraine. They're the extreme right-wing conservatives. And that's something that melts brains in America. The idea that communists could be right-wing conservatives melts American brains. Melted my brain, to be honest. So anyway, talked about Switzerland. This is I just want to play this. I'm not sure I can make it full screen, but I want to play this from Grant Shapps, who's the defense minister of the UK. And he came to Kyiv over the past, week? And I'm just glad to see he put out this really good message.
I'm the British Defence Secretary here in Kyiv to raise the alarm, because what would it say if we allow a democratic country to be taken over by a dictator like Putin?
Can everybody hear that?
About our values of freedom and democracy. And it doesn't have to be this way, because we easily have the resources of the West if we have the will. So the message is simple. This is a wake-up call for the world. Let's make sure Ukraine wins this war.
Yeah. So, by the way, this place where, I guess I could have turned it up a little bit there. The place where he is, I was there. In fact, I have.
And it doesn't have to be this way, because
I have some shorts. Cheryl, that it's very interesting. So, communist and populist, okay, in places like Russia, Ukraine, Slovakia, communist and populist can often be the same thing. Yeah, because the definition of a populist is somebody who just says whatever people want to hear, who gives easy solutions, and yeah, so yes, you can be a populist communist for sure, and they do exist here, absolutely. Anyway, I just wanted to make mention. I there's a few more cars that they've dragged into this square, but this is in the center of Kyiv, and if you go back through my shorts, wait, that sounds weird. I'm sorry. If you go back through my short videos on my channel, you can see where I was there. Oh man, last year, the year before. Anyway, I visit that little outdoor museum pretty frequently. Okay, now we're getting into back exercises. Okay, I don't need that. All right, enough with my Telegram. So yeah, I really like what Ukraine is, what the UK is at least talking about with Ukraine. I know that they are behind in terms of funding. Like, I know Germany is behind. I'm sorry, Germany is ahead of. God damn, James. All right, more caffeine. Give me a second. It is by caffeine alone that I set my mind in motion. It is by caffeine alone I set my mind in motion. It is by the beans of Java that I acquire knowledge. How does it go? Anyway, it's the Mentats Creed, but it involves coffee. That's what I need right now. Anyway, so the deal is so London London is also besides Switzerland. London, often called Londongrad, because of all the Russian dark money there. London is the other big repository. Well, okay, there's 4. Let's say there's 4. So there's Switzerland, then there's the EU under Everclear. Is it called Euroclear? Sorry. Everclear is something else. Euroclear has a lot of assets. We're going to talk about that. Londongrad has a lot of frozen Russian assets. So we're talking about the number being floated around is, I've heard 200 billion, 250 billion in the EU. I've heard 300 billion. I have a feeling I've also heard like 600 billion. Thank you. And, oh, hey, Andy. It is by the juice of coffee beans that thoughts acquire speed, the lips acquire stains, the stains become a warning. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Anyway, so this is a great thing, right? So based on this, we don't have to worry about, Switzerland is talking about setting up a whole legal mechanism, doing this and that, and that's going to take forever. It's a good thing. It's progress. But here London is saying, you know what? We will make a loan of that money to Ukraine, with the understanding that in the future we are going to collect that 300 billion, according to this article. 300 billion would change this war. Absolutely. Do not think otherwise. 300 billion would make a huge freaking difference, to be honest. And I just 300 billion would make there. I just think, like, if this actually happens. So the problem is there's so much talk, right? I mean, I like to report on this because it's good news, but again, it's all talk, and what's going to come out in the wash? And to be honest with you, it's people like us constantly pestering our politicians, constantly saying, "Hey, you do what you said you were going to do." That makes these things happen. You know what I mean? That's the real deal. So I'm just going to go down my list. I have a nice little list here. We can talk briefly about what's happening on the front lines. What's happening on the front lines is everything, everywhere, all at once. The Russians are they know that the shells are coming. Okay, they know the shells are coming. We're going to talk about this in a minute. All right. Hey, Catherine. Good to meet you. Nils, thanks. Thank you for joining. This next, however long it's going to be, 2 weeks, 1 week, a month. I hope it's not 3 months. However long it is, the Russians are attacking with everything they've got, especially here in this. I don't hear much about Krinky right now. That may change, but what I'm hearing out there, not to get I don't want to get super specific, but from Kupiansk, where they've got about 40,000, supposedly 40,000 troops, all the way down to the general Avdiivka, Bakhmut area, Novo Mikhailivka, where they've got a bunch of reserve troops down here that they are pushing or getting ready to push. They're going to throw everything at the wall that they possibly can. Oh, and all the way down here to Robotna area. Okay. And this is like the clinch time. This is, to use a sports reference, like 3 seconds on the clock, game is tied. Who's going to score a 3-pointer or whatever? Hail Mary. This is what they're doing. Because they know those shells are coming. The guy you are sponsoring, who are out in this general area, if I can just find Chasiv Yar, that's my... So in this general area, let's say, they're going to be taking the brunt of it. Yeah. Scary stuff. Right. So I want to know, what the hell? Who in the U.S. Embassy, who in the United States government thought it was a good idea to warn Russia that, in the next 48 hours, there might be a terrorist attack by extremists targeting the Russian capital. So Americans better watch out. What the hell? Are you saying that? Are you saying that? No, don't warn. Yeah, that is a question, Cheryl. Cheryl asks, did the North Korean shells dry up? And that is a debatable question that's going on. So, the ships going from North Korea to Russia have stopped running for the time being, but they can still send it by rail and trucks and everything else. So it's possible that Russia said, hey, quit sending us duds. Because what I'm hearing is about half of the Korean shells going to Russia are duds, and some of them not just duds, but they actually destroy the artillery system. If a shell gets stuck in the barrel, it's possible that it can explode and kill the crew, destroy the artillery, everything. So maybe they kind of said, hey, just start inspecting your stuff, North Korea. Maybe that's what they did. I have no doubt that shit is still coming and will continue to come. Russia just probably said, hey, can we get some higher quality, please? But why is my government doing this? Why is my government helping Russia? I don't understand it. Are you telling me they couldn't send an email? Like, I get emails from the U.S. State Department, okay, saying, hey, get out of Ukraine. There's a war. They send me these emails, we recommend that all Americans leave Ukraine, it says. They sent me this at the beginning of the war and periodically throughout. I'm like, oh my God, shut up. That's a good question. Jonathan. So Jonathan said, I thought they didn't have a train connection between North Korea and I think they do. I thought they did. I know they have a border connection. Let's just check on the map. Yeah. So it's my understanding that they do have a train connection, but they were choosing to use both. So yeah, right here on the border, it has been my understanding that there is a train connection right here. This is, during the Korean War. This is where Russia sent a lot of supplies. So actually, some of the supplies coming to Russia from North Korea have actually been originally Russian made. I don't mean shells, but other items, or so I've heard. There is, but not much of a track. Okay, Mitch, that makes sense. That makes sense as to why they would want to use ships, because they'll haul a lot more stuff. I mean, shipping in general is going to be more efficient. So, but maybe you're right. Maybe there isn't. Oh, wait, here we go. There it is. There's your train track right there. So it's not real high capacity. So that would make sense. So now probably what they've done then is they've reduced the number of shells coming in so that they can inspect the shells to toss out the bad ones. I'm sure that's what's happening. I'm reasonably certain that's what's happening. Yeah. So did I talk about everything I wanted to talk about here? Oh, just in case you didn't know, there are 10 tourniquets also in the Chasiv Yar area. I've sent those too. So I sent mags and tourniquets. So we had enough contributions in terms of tourniquets for 10. So those 10 are sitting there in the Chasiv Yar area. I want to point this out right here. This is from Savage Sage. If you haven't checked him out, he has really good videos, really good stuff. But so this is a Russian drone factory now where they are chunking out Shaheeds. Aha. So Cheryl says Natasha's Adventures, which is a great channel run by an anti-Russian Russian, let's say. She lives in Georgia. Natasha's Adventures from near Vladivostok took American travel vlogger Drew Binsky to the North Korean border before the full-scale invasion. Yes, there is a working train. Yeah, I remember that. They looked across the river. Is it the Amur River? I think. I'm not sure. Anyway, so yeah, these are Russian citizens manufacturing these drones that are coming to Ukraine and killing civilians. So don't think that, oh, it's just Putin's war, the Russians don't want it. No, they do. They do. They're happy to kill Ukrainian civilians, and they don't care. And yeah, we can say they're taken in by propaganda, and maybe that's true. I don't need to talk about the Germans during World War II. I won't use the N word because of YouTube censors. But were the Germans complicit in World War II? The German people? Yes. Yes, they were. They supported, they voted, all of those things. Yes, the route that was blown up, there was a route that was blown up that ran through China and Mongolia to Russia, but I understand that has been repaired. Or I expect that has been repaired. It was blown up in 2 places, which is great, and it was blown up in a very difficult place to repair. But there, it was a while ago, and so I'm sure they've repaired everything by now. So do not think that in the past week, I've had my friends, my students have been just crying in tears over these attacks, killing 12 people, 5 children in Odessa, and then most recently Oh God, now I'm going to get hit with censorship. God damn it, YouTube. YouTube is supporting the Russians. They're supporting orc propaganda. Absolutely, without a doubt. Most of our social media is. We need to have a comprehensive plan, laws in our country. Just like, frankly, just like we did during the Cold War, starting in the late 1940s, 1950s. I hate to say it, because I don't like censorship, but we need to do something to block and combat this propaganda. The problem is these platforms are just applying a blanket principle with no concept of right from wrong. They're just saying, no talk about war, no talk about, Cherdolf Schittler. No showing dead bodies, no showing buildings that have been destroyed. You can't show any of that. So they're preventing Americans, the most important people in America, the American people, from learning about what's actually going on in this war and in the world in general. So if you are a YouTube censor and you happen to be watching this, go fuck yourself. Thank you. So we have this. Russian missile strikes near Zelensky's convoy. It's very interesting. Everybody knows about it. Really, Jonathan, half of your comments don't show. Wow. I've heard that from a couple of people. I'm not sure if I have like some sort of, I don't think I have any YouTube moderation turned on in my streams or anything, but maybe I do. And I don't realize it. Oh, another thing on my list of things to check. Okay. Yeah, okay. So I, by the way, I need to do a better job because a lot of people are just listening to my stream, which I really appreciate, and I listen to YouTube mostly as well while I'm going around doing stuff. So I just want to make mention that uh, Cheryl, Sally, you're like, I'm listening. So Cheryl said the route that was blown up ran through China and Mongolia to Russia. I think it ran north of Mongolia, but yeah, and it was repaired. Yeah. So Jonathan said half of my comments don't show too rude or violent towards certain people. Yeah, so that's what we were talking about there. And then Cheryl said Natasha is from the Ukrainian town of Spassk near Vladivostok. Yeah, and so it's a transplanted population from Ukraine to the Russian Far East. So there's a lot of former Ukrainians in this part of Russia, right? So in this whole general area of Russia, let's say, a lot of them were forced. And when I say forced, I mean they were loaded on cattle cars in the winter, and in the Soviet Union in the 1930s, and all the way up through the night, like maybe early 1950s, during the Stalinist era, and loaded up on these cattle cars in the wintertime, and it's Ukrainians and Crimean Tatars, and thousands of them died. Hundreds of thousands, perhaps. We don't know. Nobody knows for sure. But they had, train cars packed full of people, standing room only, women, children, everything. And some cars would get to, Vladivostok and everyone would be dead. So, okay. Anyway, let's keep going, shall we? I'm just pissed off that why do we keep helping? Why does my government keep helping Russia? another perfect example here. So this is a congressperson from America, and he came to Kyiv. And he said, now I know this is from last month, okay, but I didn't get a chance to report on it, so I want to talk about it. He said, Zelensky should realize Crimea is a long-term goal. First, we must try to end the war. These old motherfuckers, okay, these are conservative Democrats. The Republicans talk about rhinos, okay? Well, these guys are Republican in sheep's clothing, really. And they're constantly... people like to say that the Republican Party is the right wing and the Democratic Party is the left wing of the American government, and that is absolutely not true. We have two right-wing parties, a far right-wing party and a center right-wing party. That's what the Democratic Party is as a whole. And sons of bitches like this, he had the audacity to sit in Kyiv with his yellow and blue tie and say, Crimea is a long-term goal. First, we must try to end the war. That is not support for Ukraine. That is support for Russia. And jackasses like this need to understand that trying to, quote unquote, end the war as soon as possible with some peace along these lines is asking Russia to come back and finish the war in a couple of years. It's asking for the war to continue. If any of these red areas, including, I'm going to say, Transnistria, if any of these areas remain occupied by Russia at the end of this war, they will come back. And they won't just come back to Ukraine. Right? Let's say that Ukraine makes a deal where they give Russia this stuff, these areas or parts of these areas or whatever. A ceasefire is signed, and Ukraine begins the process of joining NATO and joining the EU in 5 to 7 years or 15 years or whatever it is. Well, what's going to happen? That's plenty of time for Russia to say, okay, let's build all our tanks back again. Let's get all those missiles ready. And before Ukraine can do the official joining of anything, they'll attack again. And possibly smarter and harder this time. And they won't just attack this. If NATO gets involved, then we're looking at, a nuclear war. Then we're looking at war with NATO, potentially. I love this. I had not noticed this before. Deep State Maps also has in red the occupied territories of the Baltic states, Kaliningrad, or the former, I guess, Prussian, former German or Polish area. I can't keep track of what it was. And former Finnish areas from World War II as occupied territory. That's great. I think that is freaking hilarious. That was the sound. Catherine just asked, what was wrong with James' voice? That was the sound of Ukraine joining NATO. 'Cause it's really slow. Okay, it's my little joke. All right. Okay. Let's keep on going. Yeah, we talked about Cameron. Yeah. So the plan for Ukraine to buy ammunition is now fully funded, apparently. So we heard the number I heard was 800,000 shells. 800,000 shells. And I guess the first 300,000, I understand, has already been purchased. Let's see if I can find it in my list. Good God. See, I have so much ambition here, and I'm never going to get through all this information. But it's amazing. It's great. Some people are saying, yes, Cheryl, thank you. Kaliningrad was German. GeoPerspective channel has an excellent video on Kaliningrad, and yeah, I've watched it. It is good. That is a good one. But before that, it was Polish, and then I think Lithuanian. I mean, depends on how far back you go. Back in the 8th century, you know me. So yeah, so this is great. Some people have been saying that the shells are already arriving. The thing is right. So Ukraine is firing right now 2,000 shells a day. It's not nearly enough. The Russians are firing 10,000. We need to. Sometimes when I say we, I'm talking about Americans. Sometimes when I say we, I'm talking about Ukrainians. Shows you maybe I'm, becoming Ukrainian over here. Anyway, so we need to be firing 10,000 shells a day minimum over here. And 30,000 would be better. 3-to-1 ratio is what we need to be at. Okay. So what is that? How many, somebody do some math for me. How many shells is that a month? It's a lot. It's a freaking lot. So anyway, yeah, so it's almost 1 million shells a month, honestly, is what we need. So this 800,000 shells, I mean, I'm sure they're going to spread it out over like 6 months because they don't know when else they're going to get more shells. But the way it should be, yeah, Königsberg, thank you, Nils. The way it should be is this should be a month's worth of shells. That's the only way we're going to win this war. So, couple of real interesting, some interesting videos that I think are worth checking out. One of them is this video, The Military Show, about why Russia will lose Siberia. And what he's saying, essentially, is the majority of Siberians, whether they're ethnic Russians or not, the majority of Siberians actually want independence, at least those who have been polled online, which may not be a complete sample, probably doesn't sample the old people, but nonetheless, they want independence. If Siberia were to achieve independence, they could potentially be one of the richest countries in the world due to their, oil and mineral wealth. China, there's a good chance that China will take this part of Siberia at least, and is just waiting. Okay, fantasy, speculation, whatever you want to call it. But this is formerly part of China. These areas right here, this is formerly part of Manchuria. This is where many Chinese emperors came from, and China probably wants to take this back. So it's kind of an interesting proposal. I highly recommend watching that video, Why Russia Will Lose Siberia. I think I can link it in our chat. There we go. Check that out. Anders Puck Nielsen, awesome video here about, just all the things I've been talking about, how America's like, we're totally open. We have an open system of communication and information. A month or so ago, I was speaking with one of my students who's from the east of Ukraine. Obviously, not pro-Russian in any way. He's from Sumy. But the question that he proposed was, he asked me, do you think that freedom of speech is an asset, a strength, or a weakness? And I said, well, of course, I think it's a strength. And he said, well, I think it's a weakness. And obviously he's not pro-Russian, but he, being very close to Russia culturally and what have you, he still has a little bit of that mentality. Yeah, Manchuria, the Manchu dynasty. Yes, Cheryl. That's this part of Russia was originally Chinese until the 19th century, and they very much want it back. So, we can all hope that China will stab Russia in the back. Anyway, the point is of this Anders Puck Nielsen. I mean, watch the video, listen to his evidence and things, but he's talking about, well, what can we do to combat this massive amount of propaganda that you get every time you go online on Twitter? Anyone who doesn't know anything about Ukraine and they go online and they go onto whatever platform, they're just as likely to get led down the primrose path of Russian lies. And then they end up in that bubble. They just keep on clicking because of the quote unquote algorithm, which again, I think is biased, really biased for Russia. And I don't mean just on YouTube, obviously Twitter and others for reasons. But be that as it may, what he's talking about here is how do we do the same thing against Russia? Well, what he's saying here is that YouTube is still a really big deal in Russia. And I know this because my family here, my wife's family, still watches Russian YouTube. Now, they are not sucked in by the propaganda at all, but I'm talking about, people making videos about gardening, people making videos about their freaking tractors or whatever. There's nothing political or anything like that in it. They're just watching it to, learn about gardening or whatever. And they understand Russian, and there's just a lot more of that media than there is Ukrainian media. Yeah, Comrade Musk. Thank you, Max. Another perfect example. Okay, so what Anders Puck Nielsen here is saying is that there's a lot of, let's say, pro-Western or anti-war Russian YouTube channels. Okay? Right, Jonathan. Who doesn't love gardening? Exactly. Everybody loves gardening. Yesterday was International Women's Day, which is a holiday that they have here. It's a big deal here. It's like a big deal. And so for my wife's mother, I didn't buy flowers, I bought seeds because she's a practical woman. These things, that's what she wants. She doesn't give a damn about flowers. She has a ton of them. Anyway, so the point is that there are these tons and tons of Russian YouTube channels. I don't know any of them. I haven't gone and looked for them yet. I don't speak or read basically any Russian. I can read basic Cyrillic, but what he's recommending, I think, we need to start, and I say we, I mean like our governments. Somebody needs to start sponsoring these Russian language YouTube channels that are getting messages into Russia. It's the only thing that we have. This is a thing. Don't we have something called the CIA? Central Information Agency, and they're their job. They are tasked with this exact thing. Like, what's our State Department actually has funds for this as well, and I know they have like Voice of America, but we need to be thinking about this stuff and talking about this, about breaking through the Russian propaganda within their own country, fighting fire with fire. That's what we need to do as individuals here ourselves, but also as a force multiplier. We need to be pressuring our government to do that as well, and to sponsor these anti-war, pro-Ukraine, Russian language YouTube channels. Okay. Just a couple other things I want to cover. First of all, I had an awesome little discussion. Tridents against tyrants. I'm sure most of you, Trump, Jonathan says, Trump replaced the CIA with the FSB. Yeah. And Cheryl says, Trump wants to defund the CIA, the FBI, and the DOJ. Yeah, basically just completely take down, leave us completely defenseless from Russian propaganda. That's what he wants to do. You're right. Literally a Manchurian candidate. For all he talks about China, oh, China, bad. No, he's helping China. Because China's part of that coalition. Part of that axis of evil now. So, right. So these two videos, really worth watching if you didn't catch the last Tridents Against Tyrants live stream. It was awesome. Not the least of because they gave me a nice shout out, which was cool. And Yana of Project Constantine, they're doing an awesome fundraiser for that. So definitely check that out and donate to that Project Constantine. And then this video here with ATP Geopolitics. So this is Jonathan M.S. Pierce of ATP Geopolitics, a tippling philosopher. This freaking video is amazing. I don't know who his video editor is, but I hope the one that I hire is at least this. This is how it starts. This is amazing. This is so good. This reminds me of the first day, yeah, man. I messaged him myself. I was like, dude, this is freaking awesome. This is so good. And I mean, he really does just a great job. So I would just recommend, if you do nothing, if you watch no other video, if you're like, okay, I'm only going to watch one more YouTube video today, this should be the one you watch. Like, it's so good. Like, he should win an award or something for that. That's how good it is. So, yeah. Okay. I think this is an interesting little point that I didn't see reported. The first person, as I understand, the very first person in the EU prosecuted for helping Russia, or prosecuted for avoiding sanctions against Russia. He's a smuggler. He's a smuggler back. Catherine, okay, I'll watch later. It's too hot to garden. Okay. Right. So this is great. This is fantastic. They caught this guy. trying to get it, because as soon as you make something, as soon as you ban something, as soon as you make it illegal, unfortunately, this is why a lot of people say sanctions don't work. This is a big reason why people say end the drug war. By the same token, as soon as you make something illegal, it means you can make a lot of money doing it most of the time. As soon as you ban like a product, if whether it's drugs or gasoline, okay, it means you can make a lot of money doing it. So there's a huge impetus for people, people with a slightly criminal mindset to get involved in, black market smuggling of Russian goods. And yeah, thank you. So Mitch says, shows how lame execution of sanctions has been. Yeah, see, this is the problem though. First of all, he got a 9-month suspended jail sentence. So that means he did not go to jail. Okay. He just got a little slap on the wrist and they said, don't do this anymore. Gabriel Temin, CEO of Finland-based logistics and warehouse companies Luminor Oy and Siberica Oy. Oh, God, shocking that they would be involved in shipping things from Russia. Really shocking. Guilty of the export of sanctioned industrial tools. So these are things that are used in the building of their tanks and armaments to kill Ukrainians. But now here's the thing, though. It's going from Germany to Russia. So this guy is just at the end of the trail, or let's say he's a middleman. Okay. The German companies, or whatever companies that are producing these things, need to take responsibility for where their stuff goes. They can't just say, "Oh, we shipped it. It's going to Kazakhstan for sure." They can't let it go. They have to follow their product's next step. And this is why Russia needs to be declared a terrorist state by the United States Congress. And I believe that next year, if Biden wins and if the Democrats win, that's what I want to see. Because the same sanctions that go against people who support Al-Qaeda or the Taliban need to be put in place for Russia. And those are much more strict, and that needs to happen in the EU and in the United States. And that will change things. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jonathan. We do have the tech to track everything. Yeah, absolutely. So these companies should not be gotten off the hook just because shithead middlemen like this, are dirty dealers. Again, like apparently, due to these Russian-sponsored quote-unquote protesters, okay, and I'm calling them economic terrorists now, all right, due to these useful idiots, jackasses, look at all these Polish flags they have now. It's very interesting. Who do you think bought those Polish flags for them? Russian embassy. 90%. 90% sure there. Because we have pictures of Russian embassy, and I've talked about this in previous live streams, I think. We have pictures of Russian embassy, what do you say? Russian embassy employees at these protests. Okay. Basically monitoring them, making sure everything goes right, So here's the problem, right? Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said last month, a complete shutdown of cargo traffic across the border with Ukraine was on the table if the countries failed to resolve their grain trade dispute. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. And Polish politicians are realizing that too, right? Because Poland benefits a lot more from Ukrainian trade than Ukraine does. That's the thing, right? Poland is the one who's really actually losing out because these trucks, oh yeah, there's thousands of these trucks blocked, and in Slovakia too. And last year I was at the Slovakian border. This was before any of these protests were being even public. You know, I was there last May, and I mean, I'm talking about for kilometers and kilometers. There were trucks lined up at the Slovakian border waiting to get in. It took me 7 hours on the bus to get through the Slovakian border. It was ridiculous. So, like, they're realizing that this is, you know, but who's smiling about this? Who's smiling about this? Putler's smiling about it. Oh yeah, wow, Ukraine loses and Poland loses. Fantastic! Wow, good job, FSB. That's what he's saying. You know, it's ridiculous. I love this talk from Macron, and he's getting more and more specific too. Right? Macron says he's ready to send troops to Ukraine if Russia approaches Kyiv or Odessa. Right. Is it going to happen? Yeah, Sally. Sally says, I'm really looking forward to Jonathan at ATP Geopolitics making the rest of the videos public about his 10 days in Ukraine with Greg Terry, etc. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be freaking amazing. If it's anything like that, dude, that's like, he's going to win some kind of award for that shit, man. It's amazing. So yeah, so Macron's talking big, and I like it. You know, I like it, but are they ready to? Are they going to put their money where their mouth is? Politically, here's the problem, right? Macron is unpopular. You got Marine Le Pen, who's arguably pro-Russia, and the quote-unquote far-right parties of France, who, as the next election, they're going to win. No doubt about it. You know, no doubt about it. So, is this a real thing? You know, I mean, we hear a lot of talk from a lot of leaders. I like the fact that he's basically calling, excuse me, he's basically effectively, without mentioning specific names, he's effectively called Chancellor Scholz a coward. Okay. But you know, this conversation happened during a meeting with the French Parliament, meeting with people of other parties in the French Parliament. So, for example, the far right National Rally Party, and they're saying, you know, they don't like this, and they are actually in the majority. So, you know, Macron, the French president, has a lot of power under their constitution. So he could do this in a unilateral manner. It would be awesome. Let's just fantasize for just a second. Macron has until 2027. That's fantastic, Cheryl. I'm very glad to hear that. I get a little bit confused about the parliamentary system, the difference between the president and the prime minister, and in each country it is a little bit different. And the French system is different from others. So forgive me if I misunderstand. But let's just fantasize for a little bit. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's say the French, and there's a couple of other countries. Canada has said that they send troops. Britain has been revealed as already having troops in Ukraine, helping with targeting of missiles. And of course, we know that the CIA has been here, so that's fantastic. Yeah, Cheryl. I guess Cheryl says Macron has until 2027, 3 more years of a 5-year term. I'm not pretty enough to fantasize. Yeah, that's what my wife tells me too. But yeah, I'm just concerned that the far right parties in France, I don't know the mechanisms for removing a president from power in France, but I'm concerned that they might try to pull that if he takes that step. But let's say it happens. Let's say Canadians, let's say Britain throws down, and the French, and I mean maybe it's a token force, but 3 countries in there, and maybe some of the Baltic states would throw down too. You know, well, what would they do in a perfect world? What they would do is, with just those small forces. I mean, would be to bring air defense, bring more air defense, occupy parts of around protecting the capitals. Obviously, they and there's also been talk about putting NATO country, not NATO troops necessarily, but NATO country troops on the border with Belarus as quote unquote observers. What they really are is Article 5 triggers. That's what they really are, to be honest. I mean, this deal this past week with Zelensky and let's see if I can find it here, with Zelensky and the Greek prime minister almost being killed by a Russian missile here. This was very nearly an Article 5 situation. I mean, technically, it could have been, and I'm glad the guy lived, but if he had died, I mean, God forbid, if he had died, we would be having a very different conversation this week, I think, in this missile attack. Yeah, I think Jonathan says if troops are on the ground, then it's time to put them in NATO. Yeah, absolutely. I just think that it's the next step. So we get some NATO countries unilaterally going in here, and NATO will follow. That's the point. So this should have been a big, huge wake-up call, and I hope that I think it certainly woke up the Greek government, and it's very interesting that Moscow was very quick to say, oh, no, we weren't trying to kill you. They claim they targeted a drone factory. I'm sure they don't really give a crap what they hit in Ukraine, as long as they're hitting something. And yeah, maybe they didn't know that Zelensky was there, but if they had known Zelensky was there, I don't think they would have cared that the Greek prime minister was there, to be honest. Yeah, you're right. And Ukraine has a good reason not to. So Mitch says Ukraine has not asked for troops, right? And Ukraine has good reason to not want foreign troops on its own soil. Given the history of Ukraine being occupied by other countries, it's a bad look. It's a bad look. But a token force manning the Belarusian border, major cities, maybe even Dnipro, Zaporizhia, Odessa, Lviv, and Kyiv, manning air defense in those regions. That's not an occupying force. That's a token monitors. And it would vastly help and improve, especially if they don't just come with the troops, they come with the equipment as well, just for air defense and border security along the Belarusian border. That's it. That's all. I think it'll happen. I think I'm crossing my fingers here, but I think that's where we're headed, to be honest. But yeah, so, and I know this is coming from Medvedev, but Putin ally warns France that Russia has no more red lines. This guy, Medvedev, what a joke, man. He was the great white hope for Russia back in 2012 or 2008. We all thought, a lot of people thought, oh, wow, Russia's going to go full on democracy and liberalize now. Medvedev, he's cool. No. The reason that he's become such an alcoholic is that's the only way he can tolerate living with himself, betraying whatever, whatever ragged fraction of morality he still has. Because, based on so Medvedev was president of Russia for 4 years. Putin was prime minister. They basically switched. Putin was really in charge the whole time. But I don't need to go over the big history of it. But Medvedev did institute some fairly liberal policies in Russia, and there was a lot of hope. Should we send Medvedev some red markers, Sally says. Yeah, so he can make some more red lines. If you guys haven't seen it before, do you guys know about the 7 red lines? Have you seen that video yet? I kind of want to play it. I'm not sure. It's really great. Just do a YouTube search for 7 red lines. It's fantastic. Oh, it's the... What? Somebody actually has their name as the real Vladimir Putin. Oh, I love it. I fucking love it, dude. I actually love that. That's hilarious. Oh, man. I don't care if it's a Russian troll or not. Or if you just... I don't actually know how to change my name so it shows up like that. So, all right. Notice one thing that I'm not talking about today. I'm not talking about the State of the Union address. I'm sorry. I mean, it wasn't bad. It's not that it was bad. It was good. The parts of it that I've watched a lot of State of the Union addresses, okay? Going back to Reagan, okay, when I was a kid. I got the name before he got to it. That's so awesome. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. I love it. All right, I'm dying. Okay. So anyway, Biden said a lot of good stuff, but he said a lot of good stuff. This is the problem. The State of the Union, everybody makes a big deal about it. 90% of the time, it's all just talk. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say mostly about the State of the Union. Good job, Biden. Good job. But put your money where your mouth is, okay? And I'm going to say the same thing as we all should to Germans, okay? This crap makes me so goddamn angry. Pistorius. Now, we know that Pistorius has been previously, as far as I knew. Tony, shit balls, man. How you doing, man? I know you're in Zaporizhia right now. I hope it's okay if I say Tony is kind of being moved around the front lines and was in Zaporizhia dealing with paperwork. I think, we don't know what it was exactly. It's bureaucracy, Ukrainian bureaucracy. Yeah, Tony. Sally asks, "How are you doing? And do you have everything you need?" So feel free to let us know. But he is in the Georgian Legion in Ukraine. So yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. I have a theory about Tony, not just Tony, but the Georgian Legion, let's say in general. I think that I just don't know. I don't know yet, but we keep hearing these telegraphing messages, which is a terrible idea. Oh shit balls, really? Your unit? Holy crap. How close was it to you? I mean, obviously it didn't hit you. But so you're not still in the city. Please tell us more. Talking about the front line, we've already heard messaging, and I don't have the article for it in front of me. I'm sorry. But yeah, hit with what? Cheryl asks. So Tony says our unit got hit last night. Okay. Let us know what's going on. If you can. Ah, okay. Okay. The ones who went on rotation. Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I'm really sorry to hear that too, Tony. Son of a bitch. All right. Yeah. So what's being telegraphed, unfortunately, and I've already heard and seen complaints about this from Ukrainian soldiers in like the 3rd Assault Brigade and things like that, that Ukraine is talking about in the next year trying to do another offensive. Okay, great. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Okay? Like, we can sit here and contemplate it all day long, but Ukrainian government and Ukrainian military, I understand why they're doing it, because they want to send a message to European countries and the Americans that, hey, no, we're not just doing defensive stuff. We're gonna take some risks here. We're planning big stuff. I understand why they want to put that out there, but I just hope that they're very careful, and that we knew months and months and months in advance that this offensive was going to happen in this place, and the Russians did too. And they had plenty of time to prepare all kinds of defenses in this whole area. And I mean, that wasn't the only failing with the offensive. The main failing was just that. Was just that Ukraine didn't get all the weapons it needed from the West. That was the primary failing. But it shouldn't be telegraphed beforehand. So hopefully, if they're going to talk about, we're going to do an offensive, hopefully they won't say where it's going to be. Hopefully they'll, pull a Normandy and at least make preparations in 2 or 3 other areas before they do the offensive, so the orcs aren't sure where it's going to come from. All right. Enough of me ranting on that. Keep the cards close to the chest. Close to the chest. Thank you, Jonathan. But yeah, fortune favors the bold. You're absolutely right. But yeah. Yeah, Cheryl says opposite of what they should do according to Andrew Perpetua. Yes. Okay. But going back to the Germans, okay, they made this statement, right? In Finnish news, and there's some other news outlets reported on it. Long-range missiles have no impact on war progression. What? Pistorius, you know you're lying. You know you're lying, dude. And Olaf Scholz has told you, you better agree with me or I'm going to fire you. That's probably what's happened here. Because that's just a lie. That's bullshit. Are you telling me that all of the other long-range missiles that have been sent to Ukraine have had no impact and continue to have no impact on the war? Are you crazy? It's a shit ball. We need these. And yeah, maybe I'm sorry, I'm just too angry. I'm getting too angry. I need to calm down. We need these. You know? We need these. We need the Storm Shadows. We need the long range attackums. And we need longer range than that too. Stop making excuses. Stop being cowards. You know? And this is the problem. And it's not just Scholz, okay? It's Germany. Germans in general. Scholz is representing his people. Okay? Scholz is representing his people here when he says, you know, we're not going to send long-range missiles and we don't want to escalate. The German people are still subject to a lot of Russian propaganda, especially in Eastern Germany. And secondarily, they have a memory of World War II when Russia invaded their country and raped like 300,000 women, something along those lines. You know, what is happening in Ukraine right now happened in Germany at the end of World War II, possibly even worse. You know, so they have that literal memory or cultural memory, and they're scared. You know, but fear is not a solution. It's going to backfire on them. They've learned the wrong lessons. You know? All right. So it's just a very important point that Politico makes here. Germans' Ukraine policy is incoherent for a reason. They're not disorganized. They're doing it. They're being cowards for a reason. And this is playing with the German people. I have a couple of German friends who messaged me, who I met when I was in Germany, and they messaged me this just totally out of touch stuff. And they'll say things like, be careful there in Ukraine, there's a war. It's really serious. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Gosh. Those Russians are really dangerous, like they're really out of touch. I mean, I know that Americans are out of touch, and everybody in every country is mostly out of touch. But people don't look at what's going on now. They look at what they knew from their past. and they add up all of that information from everything that they knew from that they learned in their history class, and they add all that up into their understanding of the current situation. And that information is unfortunately incomplete. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about what's going on in Ukraine. I want to spend some time on that. I've been talking about every other country. So I want to talk about what's going on in Ukraine, because that's what's obviously that's the whole point of my channel, right? So I have mentioned this before, but I just want to back this up. Ukrainian society sees new divisions post Russia attack. After Russian attack, new segmentation lines are indeed forming in Ukrainian society due to different experiences of war, but it's too early to call them fractures, says Yevgenia Bliznyuk, director of the sociological company Greatest Research and Courtroom. Okay, whatever. So let's talk about what those are. All right, and they talk about it in this article. This includes different experiences of the war. Someone participated in it, someone did not, someone was wounded, someone was not, someone's house got destroyed or not, some people left the country or did not leave. Okay. At the same time, she said it is worth remembering two significant factors in this new segmentation of Ukrainian society. The sociologist called the first of them different experiences, different feelings, and the second is a manifestation of stress. So Ukrainians are under a lot of stress. I've been under a lot of stress. This week, I actually, a couple of times, just freaked out, got angry. What is Top Chat? I don't even know what Top Chat is. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know what Top Chat is. Can somebody educate me? Shite. I'm using Restream, so it's possible. Please tell me what Top Chat is, guys. So Mr. Squiggle says, is there a permanent setting to fix Top Chat? And Sally was saying, I was only in Top Chat again. I don't know what Top Chat is. Sorry. Every time you close, it goes back to Top Chat. Okay, you guys are totally talking about something that I don't know about. I'm ignorant. Please educate me. Okay. So, but this is really important. So people, and I've talked about this before, I know, but the guys who are, for whatever, and some of them are my students, some of them are even my friends, but the guys who are hiding or have been hiding, have hidden from the conscription, from the draft, those people who left the country to escape the draft, who may or may not now be prosecuted. They may have left for legitimate reasons. They may have bribed somebody. That's one group, for example, that they are going to say that they will be looked askance at in the future is an understatement. I have been in the live stream chat, Sally, I promise. I just or else I didn't realize I wasn't seeing all the messages. Now that's very possible. That's entirely possible, Sally. So Sally says to me, when you're in a live stream chat, you get to choose between top chat or seeing all messages. Now, I knew that was true on Facebook. I didn't know that was true on YouTube. So that's new to me. We automatically enter the stream in top chat setting, and we need to change it if we want to see all the messages. Well, hell's bells. Thank you for educating my dumbass. Sally says, I guess you've never been in a live stream where you didn't realize you weren't seeing all the messages. Catherine says, in the YouTube chat, you can choose between chopped messages or all messages. Wow, I hope those of you who are reading this, I hope you also learned something here. When James accesses through Streamlabs, I think it's different. Yeah, as far as I know, I'm seeing all messages. As far as I am aware, it shows me everything. I hope it's not just top. That would suck balls. Okay. I keep saying balls a lot today in the stream. Shit balls, suck balls. I don't know. I seem to be obsessed. Right. So this is something that is really serious over the long term. And it's a very emotional. It's deeply emotional, you know? And you can just imagine people get pissed, and there's going to be a hierarchy. I think that for one thing, people who served in the Ukrainian military will have more political power in Ukraine. Not in a democratic way. I mean, okay, in a democratic way. I mean, people are going to want to vote for a guy who's a veteran of the war over somebody who's not. Yeah, KK's GG. Yeah, I think I usually see. Oh God, Catherine, the creator of Dragon Ball Z. I'm not. I hated that show. I'm sorry to say. If you liked it, okay, all right. Enough about that. Okay, let's move on. I'm moving on. You guys can talk about what you want, though. I'm not going to talk about balls anymore. But people who didn't have the balls and who ran away, even if they did it for good reasons, and I think there are legitimate reasons not to fight in this war. I think that if you are gun shy, if you're like oh no, you shouldn't be fighting. And soldiers out on the front lines have complained when drafted guys have been sent out there and they're like afraid to even pick up a gun, or women for that matter. Those people shouldn't be fighting. According to the statistics that I was reading, we need 8 taxpayers for every soldier on average. So everyone has something they can do, and those people who are in Ukrainian society, those people who are not fighting, had damn sure better be donating, and they are. They're donating a lot of their funds. A lot of these IT workers in Kyiv and Lviv and things like that, they're donating like crazy, and that's how they relieve their guilt. So I believe what the line will be, who are you? I bet you didn't even fight in the war. And the response will be, well, no, but I donated a lot. I mean, these are going to be the conversations that happen in the future here. Let's talk about something else that you may not have thought about in Ukraine. So Ukrainians make a big deal about their black soil, chorny, it means black. I can't remember the word for soil. I'm sorry. But, supposedly the best in the world, and arguably it is. Okay. It's, I've said before, Ukraine is going to be the California of Europe in terms of not just drone technology, not just tech, but in terms of farming. Those of you who don't know, California isn't just Hollywood and in Silicon Valley. It produces like 75% of the freaking fruits and vegetables and all kinds of other things that America eats. Okay, that's what Ukraine's going to be. But how much? 1/3 of its land is polluted now by this war, because these bombs that are falling everywhere. And these mines have all kinds of crazy shit in them. Lead, cadmium, arsenic, mercury. Okay. And I forget about the fact that they're just mines everywhere and they can't even farm the soil. Yeah. Dennis Davydov, I'm sorry, Cheryl just said, going back to the previous topic, Dennis Davydov complained that his commercial pilot friend was placed as infantry and that terrified him. Yeah, I believe that they're trying to get better about that. About not just throwing people into infantry who have better, who have skills that could be better used elsewhere. But in the beginning of the war, yeah, and certainly in the past 2 years, that has been the norm. I mean, I fully expect when I rejoin to be part of the infantry. I mean, I'm hoping I'll contribute in other ways as well. But if that's what they want me to do, great. Anyway, yeah. So a lot of this soil now is going to be contaminated for a long ass time. Yeah. It's, Jonathan, you're a landscaper, right? It'll take a long time to dilute the heavy metals, and in many cases, there's no way to like filter out of the soil or something like that. Arsenic. There's no way to get rid of that. You just have to wait for the rains to leach it out. Mercury. It's awful. It's awful. And this is, this threatens global food security. This is something for which Russia must be held to account. Not just when the war is over, but starting now. Starting now. The article says here, military operations that take place for 2 years, like in the case of Ukraine, can destroy what has been formed over thousands of years. In fact, tens of thousands of years. In fact, this soil was formed in the Ice Age, during the Ice Age, and before that too. So we're talking about like 40,000 years ago is when this soil was formed. This was part of what's called the Mammoth Steppe. Yeah. Right? So let's look at the Mammoth Steppe map. Ice Age. Right? So let's see if we can figure it out here. See, find some nice pictures, right? So this area stretching all the way from North America, this dark gray area that you see here, and if I may say, take a look at this. Oh, come on. There we go. So this yellow strip here on this map, this is like where, so this red, here we go. That's what I'm talking about. If we look at this picture. Oh, wow. I have my alarm set for 8 o'clock this morning. That's funny. So here we go. 21,000 years ago. Take a look at that red area there. This, when we talk about why the soil in Ukraine is so amazing, it's 20,000 years of mammoth poop. Okay? There's no way to get that back now that it's being destroyed. There's no way to get that back. Yeah. Yeah, Sally, I totally agree. I mean, when this war is over, I mean, people may like Zelensky now, but when this war is over, there's going to be some accountability for the fact that the borders were left unprotected, relatively unprotected in many areas. And the fact that people who had no business on the front lines were sent to the front lines when they should have been drone operators or developing systems. One thing I want to just show, let's see if I have it here. No, is it in my Telegram? Yeah, I want to show it from my Telegram. Let's see. Yeah, this is the one. This is the video I want to show. Now, this is a fantasy. Let's be clear. Okay, come on. I want to give this... Where? Okay.
If your positioning was off, you could even get shot down by enemy forces and lose your aircraft.
All right, we're gonna...
So this guy spent hours practicing.
I don't think this is real.
This gamer almost ended up in military because of playing a military game. It all started when he realized that the graphics in the game were an exact 1.1 replica of reality, especially on player characters being completely unique. In the game, all you had to do was control a drone to bomb tanks and soldiers. If your positioning was off, you could even get shot down by enemy forces and lose your aircraft. So this guy spent countless hours practicing drone skills day and night, finally mastering 360-degree evasive maneuvers to dodge bullets and closely chase vehicles. Through these skills, he quickly rose to become an expert drone pilot in the game. One day, he heard his in-game teammates mentioning that enemy tanks had caused massive casualties to their forces. Enraged, he effortlessly destroyed the enemy tank using his controller and even assassinated the enemy commander. However, the more he played, the more he felt that something was amiss. His server IP always showed Ukraine with a 300 millisecond delay. As his in-game rank increased, the network lag became increasingly unbearable, sometimes even displaying messages like searching for nearby drones. Sometimes, this gamer almost ended up in military court just because of playing.
So, the point is here, I don't think this is real. I think this is just a fun little YouTube short story, but it could be real. I've been talking about this over and over and over. Most of the drone operators in Ukraine should not be on the front lines. They should be sitting on their sofa in Kyiv or Lviv or wherever. Ukraine has plenty of network infrastructure, with the exception perhaps of its last mile infrastructure, and that is a solvable problem by network engineers like myself. All right. Enough about that. Yeah, Cheryl. So Zaluzhny, I hear, was responsible for the southern defenses. I don't know if that is true or not. Oh, yes. Thank you. Oh, wow. Jonathan, you know about this. Jonathan says, I would interject that it is also due to grasses growing and regenerating for 40,000 years as well as poop. Thank you for clarifying that. I actually teach a whole lesson on that with regards to debating about regenerative or rotational grazing as it's being implemented in many parts of the world, especially in the United States, as an attempt to replicate the mammoth steppe. Hey, Salty Red! I knew we were missing something. Missing a little flavor. We needed that salty red flavor. Thanks for coming in. Right, okay. We are coming up on 2 hours, though, Salty, or Red. Should I call you Salty or Red? So you might have to go back and listen. It's okay. You can do it later. We didn't talk about anything important anyway, so no big deal. Right. So I talked about this earlier in the stream, but Russia is doing everything it can. In the next few weeks, they want to hit Ukraine as hard as possible. Yeah, I've moved Tuesdays and Fridays, America time. Yeah, twice a week, just because of my teaching schedule, it works out. Because basically, after I do this live stream, I'm pretty much shot for the rest of the day. I can't teach. I couldn't teach my way out of a wet paper bag after this. So, but in any case, Russia's doing everything it can in the next until these shells come. They're going to attack with everything they've got here. Like as hard as they can. Hard as they can. So Ukraine has announced, and I've been hearing this from my guys who are out there on the front line as well, that they're asking citizens in a lot of these uh, cities and towns close to the border. They're asking them to get the hell out. You know, so it's getting serious. I mean, that the Ukrainian military knows that they are bracing for this last bit, and that, you know, could be why they're kind of holding some units in reserve a little bit, perhaps like Tony, for example, because they're not sure where the first thrust is going to come from, whether it's the 40,000 units that are 40,000 Russians that are supposedly up around Kupiansk, or whether it's down here around Chasiv Yar and Avdiivka, Bakhmut and Avdiivka, or if it's going to come from if they're going to attack mostly here in Robatna, or even, you know, unlikely but possibly try to finally take the last little bit of Krinky. This tiny little, can you believe it? Tiny little, it's like 2 streets, 3 streets. Yeah. Oh, soon it will be too late for me when daylight savings. Oh, God. California time. Wait, no. It's going to make it earlier. Oh, shit. Now I'm confused. I think it's going to make it earlier for you, right? No? Okay. Well, anyway. I'll try to start earlier. How about that? I mean, I've thought about starting my streams on my Saturday stream. For me, it's Saturday morning here. I thought about doing it for at a time for what would you? Oh my God, James! At a time that would be for you in the morning or afternoon on Saturdays. So, like 7 o'clock at night for me is like 12 o'clock East Coast. Yeah, Cheryl. Chasiv Yar is pretty much getting hit really hard. Yeah. Oh, it's Wednesday and Saturday Australian time. Yeah. Starting at 4. Wait, 4 a.m. Okay. I'll keep my schedule like it is. No shifting around. Fair enough. I'll just try to wake up a little bit earlier. Maybe not like I started at just after 6 a.m. here. I'll try and I could start trying at like 5. But it's tough, man. I couldn't fucking go to sleep last night. I was up until 11 o'clock at night. It was ridiculous. I don't know why. I was just, it takes a while for me to like. I even took some melatonin in it. Anyway, so yeah, so this is what's happening. They're storming Novomikhailivka, which is down there around where Avdiivka was. Okay, I mean they're just throwing everything at it, guys. Throwing everything at it, and so this is a big reason why we need to. And I should have had this up on my screen. So somebody over, who was it? I've forgotten now. A couple of people over on Tridents Against Tyrants were asking me like, "Hey, what happened to this? What happened to you had a like basic equipment kit with everything?" And I said, "Well, I took it off the website because nobody was giving to it. Nobody was donating to it. So, and they said, well, put it back up there. We'll have a pledge drive because, again, I said this earlier in the show today, but I have found out that in this past week that the International Legion is getting like almost nothing. I mean, in terms of new recruits that are going out the door, they're getting almost nothing. Like they're having to send home just to get mag pouches, So we need to buy, to be realistic about this, we need between 40 and 60 of this per month. Per month. Okay. I don't want to give away too much like OPSEC about like what the International Legion is doing. Okay, and how their training works and everything, but I'm just letting you know that this is actually, I mean, I say it's all the basic equipment. It's not everything that a soldier needs. It's, the basic stuff. Helmet, shoes, tourniquets, and, backpack, pants, shirt, basic pouches. Most of the soldiers don't come with any of this stuff. Okay? And I thought that when I was in there last year, they were getting all of this stuff, and it all comes from donations. Everything that the International Legion receives, with the exception of weapons, all of it comes from donations, and the weapons come from the government of Ukraine, and they're not always great. The weapons I was dealing with in the Legion, at least in training, were AKs from, the oldest one I saw was 1962. I think it was 62, or maybe it was 67. But anyway, from the 1960s. Guns from the 1960s is what we had in training. Okay. And a lot of guys weren't able to even get that, because you're not supposed to be allowed to handle the guns until you're on contract. And getting a contract can take weeks. Because of Ukrainian bureaucracy. I know they're trying to make that better, but it meant that some guys would spend weeks and weeks in training without being allowed to handle a gun. Thank you, KK's GG. She says, why aren't allied governments sending their surplus kit? Thank you. Well, okay, here's part of the problem. Okay, a lot of surplus kit has gone to Ukraine and to the Ukrainian army. And they needed that in the Ukrainian army. But the International Legion didn't really get any of that stuff. Now, the other thing, Sally, so Sally says, I hope Tony gets what he needs in the Georgian Legion. So every unit is different, and every year is different. That's exactly right. So when I'm talking about these guys not having the basic kit, I'm talking about when they leave the training battalion. Now, when they get to their units, actually on the front line, they may be given more kit and get everything that they need, or not. It depends on the unit, really. And some units are getting everything. Other units are telling me, can you please send me magazines? Like, that's how serious it is, And I mean, it makes sense that the Ukrainian government would give those donated kits, donated uniforms and things from Western governments, would give those first to their prime, the Ukrainian army, the regular Ukrainian army. Okay. What kind of things are you doing without guns? Very good question. So we we were practicing, formation. Not I don't mean just standing in formation. I mean how to walk, 5 or 10 meters apart from each other, how to maintain distance, how to advance on the front line, crawling, a lot of these things. Arguably, the only thing that you really, really need to have guns for is shooting. Okay. Everything else, like, we literally were just we just went out and grabbed like a stick or just held up our arms like this, like pretending we have guns. Yeah, so the classroom stuff, exercise, hikes with full backpacks, yes, that is correct. But the backpacks, to start with, the backpack that you use is the backpack that you have. like the one you brought with you. Okay, and then you put some water bottles in there, and you go on a march. Okay, and then eventually you do get stuff that you need. At least when I was in, once you're on contract, you start to get the stuff that you need, but there's always a delay. So people make do. That's why I was talking about sending the coats that we did last month. Okay, I did not intend for those to be for units that were going to the front line, but it turns out that that's what was happening. So this shows us that they're not getting the donations that they needed, and they're not getting the supplies that they need. Okay, and that includes toilet cleaner, and that includes wet wipes, basic stuff. Okay, and in fact, the sergeant just told me yesterday or 2 days ago. He said we need soap. Oh my God! Did I just end my stream? I better not have. Oh, okay. I see what happened. All right. We need soap, and what did he say? Soap, dishwashing detergent, and toilet cleaner. And I have soap and toilet cleaner that people have purchased, and I'm going to be ordering that and sending it today. Dishwashing soap, I'm going to add it to the website so you guys can buy it. I just realized we've gone over 2 hours, guys. I apologize for that. I'm sure some of you are in bed already. I'd like to thank you all for coming to my live stream today. As you can see, I had much bigger goals. Yeah, Cheryl, it's okay. You're freezing. Oh, right, because you're in Tucson. I forgot. Yeah, it's freaking cold there. People don't know Arizona gets freaking cold as hell. Parts of it. So we'll talk. I wanted to talk about. Let's just end with a couple of things. I wanted to talk about Zaluzhny because Cheryl, you mentioned Zaluzhny, but I think I'll wait for tomorrow to talk about Zaluzhny. I want to talk about how these planes are getting shot down. But I think I need to wait on that. Maybe I might do another live stream like tomorrow. I'm thinking about it. But it'll be like a morning or afternoon live stream for you guys. I'm thinking about it. We'll see. Yeah. Okay. I think that's where I ought to end it for today. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Yeah, I'm thinking about tomorrow. Technically it might be Saturday your time. No, I think it'll be Saturday. If you're in the United States, it'll be Saturday. I think I'm going to do another live stream. That's what I'll do tomorrow. Tomorrow for me will be Sunday. But it'll be like morning or like around noon. If you're on the East Coast, it'll be noon. Or like Sunday morning if you're West Coast. So I think I'll do it because I really want to talk about this other stuff. There's other things that happened during the weekend. I just didn't have time. Didn't have time. Oh, Catherine, you forget 38 degrees in America is quite cold. No, Cheryl, you are not a distraction at all. I am doing live streams because I find just talking to myself to be really, really boring. It doesn't interest me. I tried doing it last year and I just hated it. I'll distract me. That's fine. We're here to talk about different things. And I love the input and information that you guys have, even if, you prove me wrong sometimes, which is great. I love getting that, more information. So yeah, guys, thank you for coming. Slava Ukraine. and support me in this work if you can. I'm working on a lot of stuff here that I can't show you yet. Yeah, Fish, go back and watch my not my live streams. Well, some of my early live streams were just me talking to myself, but my videos in my video section, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just me talking to the wall. It sucks. I like having you guys here. It's nice. So, thank you for coming, everybody. Slava Ukraine. Do побачення.